Hey, how you guys doing? This is G. Lewis, and so I wanted to talk about a topic. I was having a conversation with some coworkers, and this kind of came up, especially this time of the year. I think this is an important topic to discuss. So I figured, you know what? Why not do a quick video about it? And I like to call this "Walking the Road of Loss." This time of the year, a lot of people, because I thought about myself. I lost my mom this year. This is my first Thanksgiving ever in my whole life without my mother. My first Christmas is coming up. This will be the first Christmas without my mom. And although I might appear like, hey, I'm great, this has been hard. Very, 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 very hard. But I say, when I say loss, I don't mean death. I'm talking loss. There are people who've lost their homes this year. There are people who've lost their kids. There are people who've lost their marriages. There are people who've lost their jobs. So loss is loss. It doesn't necessarily mean death. And so it's important to don't fall into some stereotypes, because we have a tendency as human beings to think that we need to be strong for everything and not resilient. And this is where we make mistakes. Here's a stereotype. And I wrote some of this stuff down. That's why I'm looking down. So, don't trip. If you ignore it, then it will go away. That's not true. And we know it's not. It's only a matter of time before it manifests or it reappears in your space. And you're going to have to deal with it. And you're probably, because you're unequipped to deal with it, because none of us are trained or prepared to deal with loss. It goes back to when we're kids. We're taught that, oh yeah, grandma, grandpa will be around forever. And then you go to your first funeral and you don't understand, because the person you trust and love told you these people were going to be around forever. We got to stop lying to our kids. We tell them that loss is possible so that little by little they can prepare for when it's their time to actually emotionally deal with losing, right? Whether it be losing in school, losing on a dream, losing on a friend, or losing a family member. We have to prepare our kids for this so that way they can get through it, because it's not about how it will deal with you. It's how you will deal with it. So just know that's one of the stereotypes. What's another one? Be strong and you will beat this. Loss is not a game. It's not a score. We're not keeping score. There's no way to win, right? So be strong and you'll beat this. No. How about acknowledge how you feel? And allow that to work through you so that you can be transparent about who you are instead of be strong. No, be resilient. Be resilient. It's about bouncing back, right? And then this one. Oh, I love this one. Just forget about it, man, and just move on. If you could forget about it, then you wouldn't have this issue. It's in here because it's in here. And it's a part of your spirit. You've lost something that was a part of you. So you're not going to be able to just forget about it. So when people give you that kind of advice, thank you, but no thanks. I'll keep it moving. Because at the end of the day, like I said, we're all human. I remember when I retired from the Air Force, and it was hard the next day, because that for 20 plus years, that was a big part of who I was. I was Sergeant Lewis, and now I wasn't anymore. And I had to figure out what the new me looked like, right? But I could only deal with that loss by accepting the fact that I felt something about my career coming to an end. So you got to be real. So, so that there are ways to deal with loss, and let's go into those ways. Let's talk about how we can. First thing, before we talk about how to deal with loss, let's talk about some of the things that you might feel when you go through loss. Shock and disbelief. I cannot believe this is happening. I just talked to them yesterday. What do you mean? My boss told me everything was fine a week ago, and now you're telling me you let me go? What do you mean you're repossessing my house? What, you're taking my car? Wait a minute. All my money is gone. Oh my goodness. These are things that it's normal responses. A lot of times that's followed by sadness. Man, now I have to deal with the fact that this will no longer be a part of who I am or a part of my life, a part of my everyday norm. And I have to adjust to this. And it can produce sadness. It can produce guilt. If I had only listened and went and took that mortgage check down there early, like I was told to, then we wouldn't be in this situation. If I had only not taken that longer break, I could have worked harder on this project and they probably wouldn't want to fire me right now. If I had only picked up the phone when that person was calling me, maybe I could have talked to them before I lost them. Guilt is a big one. And a lot of people deal with guilt in many ways. Sometimes they will try to push the guilt off on you and make the situation be about you when it should be about them. Fear, especially when you've lost an actual person. Losing somebody that you're used to having in your life forces you to examine and review your own mortality, right? And that can be difficult. You know, I'm getting older and I'm like, man, I got to look at my health and what kind of condition am I in? Now I got to think about all this stuff, right? Got to have these conversations with my daughter. You know, she's worried. Are you healthy, Dad? You know, we got to talk about this kind of stuff because loss can affect people differently. But there are ways to deal with loss and understand that dealing with loss is not a one-man sport. We think it's a one-man sport because we think we got to be strong, but it's not a one-man sport. Embrace support. Turn to family and friends. Your real family and your real friends. Not these people masquerading as your family and friends, but your real family and your real friends. And I'm talking about when you're at your lowest low and that phone rings and it's that person that always picks up the phone just to make sure that you're okay. That's the person that you need to reach out to. If it's the person that every time you walk into work, they come in and they say good morning. And when you're not feeling at your best, they come to you and say, hey, I just wanted to make sure you're okay. That person that left you a card when nobody else said anything to you when you were going through what you were going through. Everybody just gave you their pity and then just kind of turned away to focus on their own lives. But this person constantly woke up with you on their mind and on their heart and on their spirit. Those are the people that you need to turn to because those are the people that's going to be able to be empathetic to your circumstance. Not sympathetic, but empathetic. And there's a difference. With me, there is a difference. Sympathy means I have gone through it. And because I have gone through it, I understand it. Sympathy means you were homeless. I was homeless. So I understand what you're going through. That's sympathy. Empathy means you're homeless. I've never been homeless, but I'm willing to acknowledge that what is happening to you is significant to you, even if I don't understand what it feels like. That's empathy. And those are the people that you want around you because those are the people that aren't going to judge you. They're not going to tell you how to respond. They're not going to tell you how to react. They're not going to tell you how to deal with it. They're just going to make sure that they help you transition from A to B. And that's from grief of loss to healthy person that has gotten past and beyond loss. Okay? So turn to your real family and your real friends. Accept that people feel awkward when it comes to trying to comfort you when you're grieving. People will try to tell you, people say the most amazing catchphrases. Well, at least they're in a better place now. That's a great statement, but it really doesn't help me with what I'm dealing with. I've lost somebody significant to me. So that statement doesn't help me. So I understand that sometimes people are awkward because, and here's the reason why. It is more important for some to make sure that you feel like they feel because they can't handle feeling like you feel. So it's important for them to turn a situation that is bleak into a situation that is lighthearted or joking or fun or happy because they can't handle being where you're at. It's too much for them emotionally. So they need to bring you to where they are. And sometimes that can create some awkwardness. Don't apologize for your reaction. Don't apologize for your responses. React and respond how you see fit. But make sure you keep people around you that's willing to tell you the truth, that when your reaction is becoming a detriment and not being healthy. All right? Draw comfort from your faith. If you're faith driven, draw comfort from your faith. Nothing happens by accident. I believe that everything happens for a reason, and everything happens with the intent for us to grow from it. That's what I believe. And nobody else can tell me different. Even if you believe different, you don't have to agree with me, because I'm not asking you to believe what I believe. I'm just telling you that's what I believe. All right. If necessary, join a support group. If you can find a support group, I know that's hard because especially as Black folk, we don't typically go get help, but we need to. And that brings me to my last one. Talk to a grief counselor or talk to a therapist. Talk to somebody that can help you, a professional. We would not go get surgery from our buddy because he watched a lot of doctor TV shows. We're going to go to the person with the plaques on their walls because we believe that means they're an expert at what they do. Well, we need to trust our minds with people with that same expertise. Right? And don't get me wrong. You don't have to get it right on the first try. You might find a counselor and it doesn't work. You're not a good fit. The chemistry doesn't work. They don't understand you. Sometimes you have to keep searching to find the right fit, just like dating. You have to keep searching until you find the right person that works for you. But there's nothing wrong with talking to other people, because we go through counseling all the time. We've gone through counseling our whole life. And if you don't believe me, give me a couple of seconds and I'll prove to you that you've gone to counseling. So let me paint a scenario for you. Let's say you're driving in your car. You're headed to work. You found your keys on the first try. The coffee you made was awesome, right? You get in the car, there's no traffic, you're getting every light, your favorite song comes on the radio, everything is just going great. You get to work, you walk in work, and your boss says, "Lewis, come here." I go sit in my boss's office and they say, "You know what? Your work has been horrible, and the bosses upstairs are noticing, and I think we might have to let you go. I'm not sure if we will, but I don't like the way you're performing. I think you're terrible as an employee, and we might have to let you go." So now you walk out of this office and your high goes, you crash. What are you going to do at that point? Most people are going to go pick up the phone. They're going to call a trusted advisor. They're going to explain the circumstance, give the details, and then they're going to wait for feedback. That sounds like counseling. The only difference is you're not talking to a professional. We're talking to somebody we trust, but not necessarily somebody that's skilled to help us. So keep that in mind when it comes to counseling. There's nothing wrong with having both. Somebody you trust and somebody that's a professional. The goal is to have them both in one. All right? Understand that total wellness is essential. Mental, physical, spiritual, emotional. If this and this ain't well, it's going to be hard for everything else to be well. Okay? So keep that in mind. Plan ahead for triggers. This is a big one for me. Plan ahead for triggers. When you recognize that this is going to trigger me because I accept how I'm feeling about this circumstance or this loss, plan for it. What is your plan when this person comes in a room and says this to you and it makes you want to cry? What is your plan? How are you going to deal with it? Because it's going to happen at some point, right? It's inevitable. So, you must accept and acknowledge how you really feel. You must do that. And that's very important. That should have been number one, but you must accept and acknowledge how you really feel. And notice I said accept and acknowledge. I have definition up for accept is believe or come to recognize. Meaning like this light. I did not recognize this as a light until right now. And now I accept that this is a light. From this moment on, this will be recognized as a light. Then there's acknowledge. Acknowledge means to accept or admit the existence or truth of. That's dealing with the other side of it. I've walked past this every day and never was willing to believe the possibility that this could be a light. But I have to now acknowledge that it is. I am not allowed to walk past this and think the things that I thought before. So accept and acknowledge how you really feel. And it's okay. If you feel grief, that's okay. If you feel numb, that's okay. If you feel lost, that's okay. But if you feel anything too long, it's important to let other people know so they can try to help you deal with it. So just remember, during this holiday season, a lot of people with the biggest smiles on their face are dealing with so much because they've lost so much. If you can, try to be empathetic to each other. And if you're the person that's dealing with loss, remember, take care of your mind, take care of your heart, take care of your spirit, take care of your body, and take care of each other. Because without each other, none of this works. More words from a grown-ass man, enlightened. I'm G. Lewis. Thanks for listening, and happy holidays.